a city with me! Hey everyone, welcome back. This week in Olivia's Corner, it is the day to do D&D Talks. And I was thinking, what the hell do people want to know about Dungeons and Dragons that I could provide? I came up with a couple of options. I came up with something that I have affectionately referred to as the NPC Trials, which is unfinished, so you don't get to see that one today. But the idea behind that one would be that I have a roll sheet of all of the options for creating a character, and we would together create a random person, and they would have some qualities and abilities, and they might be interesting. And so I would roll them up and then tell you what I rolled, and then create an NPC out of what I rolled. So we will do that another time, possibly to populate the city I'm about to create. So instead, today, we're going to talk about, for DMs, from a non-expert, maybe this is a terrible idea, what you need to create for a city to be functional. Ready, set, go. So, in building a city, I love choosing the city names. There are things that you have to choose about your city, town, village, metropolis. One of the things you have to choose is the sort of population, which to me, that just gives me an idea of what kind of size you want this village to be. So I'm creating a continent right now with a very interesting city that I'm very excited about. And it has like 16,000 people in it or something. That's like small compared to my hometown, but large compared to like your average little town you might pass through in the world of D&D. So with that in mind, let's invent a city. I feel like I need a notebook. Oh wow, it's mostly empty. I just grabbed a notebook. I was thinking it was really full, but it's only got that many pages. Only this many pages are full. So I have a sketchbook I didn't know I had. That's exciting. First things first. No, we're not going to name it first. I'm not going to remember its name if we name it first. Let's say this is a little tiny town. No, then you don't need anything. Let's say this is a fairly medium-sized city. Not a major metropolis, but not your average little one in town. I'm gonna say population is 4,000 people. Why not? When I was in high school, we read a book. I don't remember which book, and one of the things that it talked about was the, like, 3 things every city needs because of human beings are human beings, and we follow some of the same patterns. But the 3 things I think it said were a church, because people need redemption, a jail, because people are going to be assholes, and they did not use this language in high school, and a cemetery, because people are going to die. So with that in mind, those are the first 3 things that we need. Some sort of governing system where that people will be put in jail, a temple or church of some sort for people to go and pray to some sort of deity at, because in the world of D&D there's, 12 to 20,000 deities you could choose from, and a place where the dead are buried. So, in one of the continents that I create, there is no cemetery because there's a massive cemetery where the whole continent takes their dead, but for the sake of this, they will have a small cemetery next to a small church. Because people. For a population of 4,000 people, let's say the jailhouse has 6 cells. Maybe people aren't all that bad. Maybe they get crammed into multiple people in the same jail cell. Or maybe this village is like in a kingdom where only petty theft is dealt with on a local level, or like petty crimes, and bigger crimes are taken to the bigger cities. Yeah, I kind of like that idea. When I first started DMing, I just kind of created towns, and they didn't have much backstory. I had no idea where they came from, who the founder was, how long the city had been in play, so to speak, and they were just kind of ruled on the kingdom level in some way. I've learned recently that it's much more interesting if there's a bit of a backstory for your little town. So, how long has this town been a town? Maybe it was founded recently and there are a whole bunch of buildings that are still under construction. Maybe that's why it's so small. Maybe it's really old and it's so small because there's not much good crop land here. Who knows? I guess I have to know. I'm gonna say... I think this town is very old. Which means the cemetery has some old family plots, which means there are probably some bigger houses and then some smaller houses because people who have been here for a long time have built up their sort of family home, whereas some people have built houses here and then passed away and been lost or left because there's nothing to do. Or is it a farming town? Is it a mining community? Is this a hotspot along the road where people stop to resupply, so they're more of a trading facility? What kind of town do we have here? I really like towns in a trading position, so we're gonna say it's a really old trade town, like a crossroads place where there's two main roads that come through here and lots of travelers come through. If this is a trading sort of town, there are probably only a couple of stores or vendors. More things that basically every town needs. Some sort of doctor or physician, some place where goods can be traded or sold. That can look like a variety of things, from farmer's market style on the weekends to general store. I typically go with general store because it's convenient. What else do people need? Like, what else is necessary for functioning life when you're playing D&D? I think that's about it. This town is gonna be called... I'm just gonna workshop out loud. Leafton. Bloomington. The Mug's Demise. No, that's silly. It's a trading post. It's a place where people stop that's a crossroads. It's probably founded by someone. It's probably around an ancient inn or something, because there's always an inn or a tavern. Let's call this... I'm feeling like a Hervington or something. No, that's weird. Harvin's Crossroads. The Harvin Crossroads. The Harvest Crossroads? Harvin was better, but still not good. Is 5 minutes of my video gonna be me trying to come up with a name for a town? I mean, that's pretty typical to my experience. How do you name a town? Okay, it's two bisecting roads. That's where the word crossroads came from, damn it. Hagrid. Nope, too close to Hagrid. Okay, I'm gonna go with Allowin's Crossroads. There, it's done. It's on paper. I can't change it now. Well, that's not true. If you learned anything from my other video, you're the DM, you get to play God in this town, so you get to decide whatever the heck you want as the town name. Man, I mean, I told you I do a lot of alliteration, but I just can't get away from alliteration. Okay, here is your town that we created together. Thank you for being here to help me create this town. Population 4,000. When you first crest over the hills into Allowin's Crossroads, you're probably following one of two normal roads that go through the area. One of them travels from a major metropolis to the far west, from the west to the east, and another one kind of bisects northeast to southwest. So they're kind of an angle, like one of them's like this and one of them's like this. So my city's like right here. Allowin's Crossroads, population 4,000. There's a church there. It's a rundown temple with a steeple. The white paint is peeling off the sides. There's a grand old pastor there who raised a tiny family, and they live nearby on the small building off of that. They perform all of the services and ceremonies. They're kind of okay with most religions and cater to the needs of their flock, sort of. They also sometimes house clerics that come passing through. They house families who need to bury someone who died on the road because it is a crossroad. That makes a lot of sense. There's a jailhouse, but it only has 6 cells, partially because it's a majorly people passing through kind of city. This town is very old. It was founded by Halloween, who created an inn that has since been torn down. Halloween's Respite, sure. Now, instead, there is a general store. It just gets called the general store. There's an apothecary called Tawny's Tinctures. Tune in next time to find out who Tawny is. They sound interesting. There's a bookstore called the Parchment Post, because why not? There's an oddities or secondhand store. I'm just gonna call it Rediscoveries. That's a strange name, but it's, you know, like if it's an oddity or like an antique or secondhand item, it's like, you can come rediscover the value. That's stupid. I'm gonna name it something else. There's an inn, there's a merry old inn. There's gotta be an inn, it's a town. People pass through and have to sleep here. I'm gonna say there's a pretty large inn if people are passing through all the time. It has 10 rooms, and it's called Wooldrick Stormcastle's Commodities. No, what does commodities mean? That's not right. That's not for an inn. Well, maybe that could be the general store. I think the inn is a remodeled version of Halloween's Respite, so it's still gonna be called Halloween's Respite. But it's like, everyone who lives in this town knows that it's not the original Halloween's Respite. Someone just took it over and made it a functional inn again. And then there's a bakery, because who doesn't love a good bakery? And it is called the Bounty's Blessing. And there you have it. Building a town is as easy as a couple of words on a page. Not to say that that was easy, because it did take me, 30 minutes for a simple town that people might pass through for 5 minutes. That's okay. That's the life of a dungeon master. Tune in next time that we do the D&D Talks to hear the NPC trials, where we generate people that can be found in this place and talk about what's important in building an NPC. That's something I'm still learning, so I'm going to do some research before we do that. Thank you for showing up while I rambled on about the wonders of Dungeons & Dragons. This week's episode, obviously, was a little different than just fangirling, which is my usual thing. I'm glad you're here, in case you couldn't tell. I don't make these videos just to be adorable on camera. I make them because I love you who are watching, and I'd love for you to come along while I learn how to be a dungeon master, because I feel like I'm still in training. I love you, thank you for being here, and I will see you next week, or whenever the next video comes out. Oh, I guess I should probably say, if you have not had a chance to subscribe, the button is right down below, it costs you nothing, and then you get notified when I notify you. Thanks for being here. Okay, bye.